After a breakup with a fearful avoidant, most people find themselves stuck in the same loop of questions. What are they actually thinking right now? Do they even miss me? How does someone talk about a future with you, plan a life with you, and then end things as though none of it ever happened? And underneath all of those questions, the one that tends to hurt the most is, did I even mean anything to them? From what I've seen in my line of work, you most likely did. And today we're going to go inside the mind of a fearful avoidant after a breakup. Because what I've seen working with people tells a very specific and consistent story about what your ex is likely feeling after they decide to break up. My name is Gabriel, and I spent years on the other side of that question. I was the avoidant partner, the one who pulled away and shut down and left the other people closest to me wondering what was happening inside. And after working through my own patterns alongside my wife Carolina, we now work with people navigating exactly this kind of pain. I want to build this video around a client of mine named Sarah. She came to me after her fiance Marcus called off their wedding 1 week before the ceremony. They had been planning it for over a year, close to 100 guests, a beautiful venue, an exquisite dress, deposits. Family had flown in from across the country, all over the world, and Marcus sat her down at the kitchen table on a Tuesday evening, looked at her and said, "I'm sorry, I don't think I can do this." Sarah told me she just sat there. She said, "I didn't even cry at first. I just kept thinking, what are you talking about? We're fine. Just yesterday we were fine. What happened?" So, in order to answer the question of what your fearful avoidant ex is thinking right now, we first need to understand, much like Sarah had to, what happened. And that's exactly what we're going to answer in this video, starting with relief. One of the first things a fearful avoidant tends to feel after a breakup is relief. And I want to be careful about how I say that because it has nothing to do with you not being enough or the relationship not meaning anything. Sarah gave her absolute best in her relationship. She was loving, committed, showed up completely, and Marcus, by every account, genuinely loved her. But for months leading up to that Tuesday evening, Marcus had been quietly drowning. Every conversation about table arrangements, every phone call from well meaning relatives asking, "Are you excited about the wedding?" He experienced all of those moments as pressure to be a version of himself who was ready, certain, someone who could carry the weight of commitment of a life together without flinching. And all of that had been building up inside of him in a way that he could never quite put into words. He smiled through venue walkthroughs, he nodded through dinner conversations about the honeymoon, he told Sarah's mother he couldn't wait to be part of the family, and all the while, something underneath all of that was quietly becoming unbearable for him. So when he finally said the words, there was relief. Not because Sarah was gone, but because the pressure was gone. The performance was finally over. He didn't have to keep pretending he was certain about something he had been terrified of for months, if not longer. So if your ex ended things after a period seeming completely fine or even happy, there's a good chance they had been carrying something like this for a long time before you ever saw a sign of it. That doesn't mean the relationship was a lie, it means they were overwhelmed, unsure, and completely unable to find a way to say so. And when all that falls away, at least initially, they feel relieved. The next thing they're often feeling is shame or guilt. So, despite whatever relief your ex may be feeling, there is a good chance they are also carrying an enormous amount of guilt and shame about how they ended things. And in Sarah's case, this came through in everything Marcus said during those final conversations at the kitchen table that night. He kept saying, "You deserve someone who could be sure. You deserve someone who could be better than this." So he wasn't cold. He was sitting across her with tears running down his face. And he knew how much this was actually hurting her, how terrible his timing was. Sarah told me that at the time he looked more devastated than she did, and somehow that only made it worse for her. But the guilt Marcus was carrying wasn't simply about ending the relationship, but also about every moment he stayed quiet when he should have spoken up. Every evening, he sat through wedding planning, feeling paralyzed and said nothing. Every time Sarah asked him, "Are you okay with all of this?" he said, "Of course, it's great." When the honest answer was something closer to, "I have no idea how to tell you what's happening inside of me." He knew she had been planning a future based on information he had never fully given her, and he had to live with that. So if your ex seemed genuinely broken up about hurting you, even while being the one who left, chances are that weeks or even months after the breakup, they are still sitting with that guilt, replaying moments where they stayed quiet when they should have spoken up, wondering whether things could have gone differently if they had just been more honest sooner. He or she is not moving through their days unbothered. They are carrying the weight of knowing that someone who loved them completely was working with an incomplete picture the entire time, and that they were the one who kept that away from them. So the relief of the breakup fades and the guilt tends to linger a little longer. If this video is giving you something, do me a favor, hit the like button, and if someone in your life is trying to make sense of a fearful avoidant, send it their way. Now, the next thing running through your fearful avoidance mind is often justification. A few weeks after Marcus had ended things, he sent Sarah a message. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. I genuinely believe we want different things. I think I would have made you miserable eventually, and this was always going to happen. It was always going to end this way." Fearful avoidants very commonly arrive at the conclusion that the two of you were simply incompatible, that you wanted fundamentally different things, that the relationship was always heading towards this ending. And they hold onto that conclusion because without it, they have to sit with the full weight of what happened and their own role in it. But here's something worth noting. If your ex has been saying things along these lines, that you're better off apart, that you two just don't work together, there's a good chance that they are holding onto that narrative as a way of managing their own guilt and confusion long after the breakup has happened. And if they are still finding reasons to stay in touch with you weeks or months later, there's a good chance they don't actually believe a word of it themselves. Now, if you're sitting with all of this, feeling stuck, unsure how to process what happened or what to do next, then maybe working with a coach could help you get you back on your feet and give you clarity on where to go from here. You can find the link to our one-on-one sessions in the description below. Now, before I talk about hope, I want to be honest with you about something. In some cases, so much has happened with distance building up, problems going unaddressed, that it becomes too late to restart. Even if the breakup came down to a misunderstanding or a failure to communicate on one or both sides, some relationships reach a point where the damage is simply too significant, regardless of how much both people might have cared. I'm telling you this because pretending otherwise might just be causing you more pain. And here's what I can honestly tell you. For the majority of people, the story that it was all inevitable, that you were simply incompatible, that nothing could have been done, is not true. Most of the time, what you're looking at is two people who genuinely wanted the same things, moving through the world with completely different emotional wiring, misreading each other's every turn, and causing misunderstandings. A painful, complicated, costly misunderstanding, but a misunderstanding nonetheless. Now, Marcus and Sarah's story actually didn't have a simple ending. She couldn't let go of Marcus, and as it turned out, he couldn't let go of her either. So, weeks after that Tuesday evening at the kitchen table, they started talking again, slowly, carefully, without any of the pressure that had swallowed him whole in the first time around. There were no plans or expectations, just the two of them being fully transparent and honest with each other for the first time. Where it will lead, neither of them knows yet. But what they have right now feels very different to both of them. It feels secure and balanced, and built on conversations they probably should have had a long time ago. So both sides of this dynamic carry patterns worth looking at. Your ex has things to work through, and if you're honest with yourself, you likely do too. But what I've seen in my many years of coaching is that the moment both sides are willing to take accountability and work through things, they suddenly feel love again. They feel connected and they feel hopeful again. The question most people are still sitting with after understanding all of this is, what would it actually take for an avoidant to get in touch with their feelings for you? My wife Carolina answers that exact question in her next video, which you can watch right over here.